Ji, Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this webinar of APPNA YPC. As you guys might would know, I'm Dr. Mohammad Siddiq Khurram. I'm the current chair of APPNA YPC. And this webinar series that we do typically, we try to collaborate with one of our alumni. And this webinar is in collaboration with Nishtar Alumni. So we have all the panelists from Nishtar. So I'll start with our brief introduction of our panelists, and then we will go to one of our panelists who is going to present a brief PowerPoint presentation. Then we'll have some, overall feedback and comments from our panelists, and then we'll try to keep all of these sessions. We'll try to keep it as interactive as possible because you guys have a lot of questions that we get bombarded every, literally every hour of the day. So this is the best time for you to ask any questions that you might have. We try to keep the webinars within an hour, but we understand that there's so many questions that we may not cover. So sometimes we do go beyond 10, 15 minutes. So we'll see based on panel's availability how to how much can we go beyond. But I'll start with our very own Dr. Sadiq Naveed. Sadiq Naveed, he doesn't need any intro or anything. I'm sure every single person on my PC knows him pretty well, but just FYI, if somebody doesn't know, he is a psychiatry program director at Eastern Connecticut Health Network in Connecticut, and then he's been one of the IPC chair in several years, and throughout he's been involved with APNA and with the other committees also. And currently, last year he was chairing Merit, and this year also. So great to have Sadiq Bhai as always on the panelist. Then we have Khurram Irshad Chetta. He's a PGY3 in internal medicine at Marshfield Clinic, and he's also chair of Nishtar Alumni YPC. Then we have one of my mentee here, Pumbal. She is a PGY1 in pathology at UMass in Bay State, and it's very good to have all of you guys here. Thank you for taking the time on this Sunday. Happy Father's Day to all, and especially to our fathers, Sadiq Bhai. I don't know, Khurram, if you are, but anyone else, we appreciate you guys taking the time on this busy Sunday morning. So we'll move forward with our initial panelist, Dr. Pumbal. And Pumbal, you can go ahead and start your presentation.
Hi everyone, I'm Pumbil and I put in some of the examples from the matched and unmatched candidates and I took their consent and we will be going through them, what were the mistakes and how some of them made them stand out, some of the good points and some of the bad points in their ERAS CV. So basically, ERAS CV is a document that you will be using to send to make your application and sending it to everyone, every program director, every program you will apply to. Another thing people do is like they start downloading the ERAS CV and send it in their email conversation. That is supposed to be protected and not sent out like a normal CV. You have to make another alternate normal CV to that. And another thing about ERAS CV is that all of the columns, all of the word limit, you need to fill everything. Put in your best foot forward. So this is how a normal CV would look like. This is how a template you can use that. Put in your email, name, education, research, publication, fellowships that you can share using your emails. But the ERA CV will have sections on your education, experience, publication, leadership, licensing, awards, language skills. So, when somebody is putting up their work, research, or volunteering experiences, please use action verbs and focus on what you did, how, and like cause and impact. If I participated in a flood relief program, what did I learn from it? What did I actually did in that process? And for publication, people do not follow a format and then they do not post their links to that publication. So some of the time when we are interviewing, when we I was being interviewed, they would say, I don't have the link to this publication. I couldn't read it. So it's better if you put in the links and cite it in AMA format, all of your publication presentations. And for your awards, And leadership, put in soft skill. Soft skills are communication, your empathy, and all of the skills you learned during your leadership experiences. Like here, I really liked how this candidate put in their research experience. So he writes about that two of the research retrospective studies he went through. So this is something which will give as a food to talk about in their interview. He puts in the project names, and he also takes that what the roles, what were the soft skills he was acquired during this. He was able to draft IRB proposal, review literature. He was able to screen patient. He was also given access to EMRs. So all of these skills he can talk about. And I really like how he put in bullet points. Again, you can go with bullet points or paragraph. And some of the things which other people, the native English speaker, reads are composition. They hate is that inappropriate capitalization. Sorry. Like here, reviewing literature should have been a small l. So make your every composition go through Grammarly, or simple use Microsoft Word grammar to help correct the grammatical mistakes. These are some of the action verbs you can put in. Instead of putting I did this, it will be very repetitive. You can say I generated, we we were advised, or we approved IRB approvals. And here are Desi people. So these are two candidates. One of them put in English and Urdu, but the Desi cohort can speak Punjabi, Hindi. So I would say make it multilingual, and it will be added skill to your soft skills. And then this is how somebody wrote their hobbies. These are pretty basic hobbies, but people struggle to write. What do we write in the hobbies section? We don't have any hobbies. Of course, you do. If you like socializing, asking people to come meet you on weekends, that is a hobby. So put that in, socializing as your hobby. Journaling, these are very basic, but I really liked how this candidate has put in journaling, connecting with others, cooking, multiple hobbies, because you need some leisure activities to survive, and it makes you more of a human. So she put that in the bullets, and pretty basic hobbies you can come up with and put them in to make you seem like, oh, you do something beside medicine. And something else that I've been seeing, that people do not put anything in their geo or setting preferences. If you're giving the opportunity to pick options, always pick them. And then there is a question, how do I justify? I don't have anybody in US, but you did do at least two or three rotations. You can put in, I've been to, for instance, Chicago, and I rotated there. I rented an apartment. I ended up making friends. You can also put that in. So again, if I'm made to um, be a resident in that program, it will be easier for me to settle in. You can put that in if you don't have family and friends in that area. Again, you can say all, or if you're putting no preference, you can go with I'm versatile. I have rotated in private, academic, and community settings, and I will be able to go ahead with any. And this is the another format of somebody wrote their awards. So we get distinctions. All of us are top achievers. So you can put your academic excellence here and put in description that this was, I was able to score more than 85 percentile in an annual exam, and then you can list all of your distinctions together. And here is something about clinical observership. Before I made my ERAS CV in 2023, in 2022, there used to be a column where people used to put their supervisor's name. So now there was no supervisor name. So I've seen people putting that in their the work experience, the supervisor name, and wasting words. So The people who were in our rotation are the same people who are writing our LOR. So instead, again, focus on what you learned, like observed in patient pulmonary ICU services, in a tertiary academic center, attended daily multidisciplinary rounds, shadows procedures. Like, again, don't waste words on writing, Dr. So and so taught me this. That's my 2 cent. And again, when again, the common mistakes are proofread, do not do wrong capitalization, and try to not write the same role every 10 meaningful experience we get. And start early. For me, Dr. Khurram, Dr. Naveed, all of them helped up. You can make multiple people read it, take feedback, and try to polish your CV. That's it. That's it what I have.
Great presentation, Tumbal. I think great points raised, and totally agree with all of these. About the hobbies, I think it's very interesting. Many people have way more than now these days. ERAS is only 10 experiences. Many people have way more than 10 experiences. In those cases, I think just writing random, usual hobbies may not be recommended. But there are several who just graduated or even the final year these days. We are seeing that they're going to be applying, and they feel like so it's not mandatory that you need to fill out those 10 experiences. I mean, but whatever you can put. But yes, hobbies definitely it's a good topic to have a conversation on. But please make sure, guys, that do not make up hobbies and something that you may not be able to talk about. And then many, I still remember back in my day, I had multiple interviews where we were just having the entire conversation, the entire interview went on to the hobbies. So just be careful when you put those things on that you are able to talk, because every single thing, every single word in your CV you may be asked upon, and you should be able to justify. And it's like a real estate, so every single word is every single space is important, so use it very carefully. So moving on to Dr. Sadiq Naveed. So Sadiq, by just an overall perspective, obviously you been doing this for a long time. You have tons of mentees, and now being program director in the leadership for quite some time, your input would be obviously very much appreciated. So overall, whatever you can tell us. And in the meantime, Bhupan, if you can stop sharing the screen so we can have. Thank you, Sadiq bhai.
Yeah, thank you very much. Excellent presentation, Pupil. Thank you for doing it. So I would suggest all of you to take Pumul's advice, start working on your ERAS CV right now, and rather than leaving it for the September and doing it in the last moment. But there is, if you Google, there is an ERAS worksheet that is available. You can go through that ERAS worksheet and start filling out right now. And even if you can work on your personal statement right now, that would be helpful. Um, so your CV has certain, you are able to talk about that. So Pumbal talked about, about the hobbies. So if you put a hobby like you like learning about Bitcoins, for example, I don't know anything about Bitcoins. So let's say, if you put in your hobbies that you'd like to learn about Bitcoins, you want to trade in Bitcoins, and this is something that excites you, then let's say if a person comes in the interview who likes Bitcoins, and interviews are mostly based on your ERA CV. So if you don't know anything about Bitcoin and you mentioned it, and I know about Bitcoin, what it does it tell me is that you may have other areas on your ERA CV that might not be the true reflection of your life. So make sure, in your ERA CV, and Bitcoin is just an example, in your ERA CV, whatever you write is gonna be asked. Know it like back of your hand, and this is how we know how authentic and transparent you are. Now, I'm gonna comment on, and Sadiq, I'm gonna take a little bit longer time, maybe 5 minutes, and I'll comment on each sections, and then we'll go to questions. So in ERA CV, the first part is demographics. Once you submit your ERA CV, your application, after you have submitted it and certified it, only thing that can be changed on your ERAS CV is your demographics. So, and that would also include your visa status. So it's going to include name, date of birth, your pronouns, your visa status, and those sorts of things. So those can be modified. So Phil, what is really reflective of your situation and your facts. One question may come for people who are in the process of visa and maybe they are in the process of getting green card and EAD. Sometimes people mention EAD if they have not received it, but make sure that by the time you have matched, you have that EAD green card in your hand. Because once you match, we're going to start working on your credentialing and next steps. So if you don't have at that time, that's going to cause some issues for you. Next step after that is education. That includes your medical school interruption. If your medical school education got prolonged, please mention that. And also mention the reason why it got prolonged. Another thing in education that comes is graduate medical education. When it comes to graduate medical education, the only part that can be mentioned there is if you have done ACGME accredited residency or AO accredited residency, which is American School of Allopathic Medicine accredited. If you have done residency training in Pakistan, it goes under the experience section. So that's the education piece, experience. Pumbal has shown a really great examples of some of the experience section. Usually, looked at ERA's CV for this year. There's not much change as of yet be meaningful. One thing that you should know in recent years, the ERA CV has changed more from experience based to more attributes based. So if I can go back to, if once you hear the recording, go back to what Dr. Pumbal was showing you, there is a section in the research experience that she showed where is attribute, teamwork, and leadership. So when you're picking those attributes, make sure that you're able to talk about that. When we talk about that, so you can pick three meaningful experience. You can pick, seven other experiences. For people who just graduated from medical school, and as Dr. Khurram mentioned, you may not have 10 experience, so you don't need to carve experiences out of nowhere. So you can mention what you have. Generally, my recommendation is you mention your longest experience, because let's say if you graduated from med school 4 years ago and you did 1 year of experience somewhere, if you don't mention it, it's going to show a significant gap in your ERAS CV. And another PD may not know it who is of US origin, because in US you go into residency right after medical school. So mention the experience which is the longest. If you have a residency training experience, definitely mention that. I will also hope that you get LOR from your residency supervisor. And also, so most longest, the recent ones, and also the residency experience. If you don't have them, you only have for 2 to 3 months, so mention what you can mention. You don't have to make something that does not exist. Active voice, then passive voice. Some people write bullet points, and the narrative version like paragraphs. It's okay to do both. Personally, when I was doing it early on, I was liking bullet points better because it saves you some words and characters. But more and more as I'm reviewing those applications by myself, I'm liking the paragraph version better because it helps make a story. Bullet points are usually broken, but choose based on your situation. I'm gonna move on to membership section. Like if you are a member of certain organization, if you are applying for a certain specialty, it helps to have membership of a national organization. There are a lot of organization who offer student membership, so please mention that. Hobbies, I think people gave really good examples. You don't have to be skating and stamp collection and all of that. All of us have a way to regulate ourselves. This is reflect on your wellness activities. So do what you can mention. So I watch a lot of Netflix shows. I listen to politics too. So mention what you want to mention. You don't have to make something. Then publications. So publications, I would just mention that if your publication has been accepted or submitted or it has been published, you can mention all of them. There are different options that you can pick from. Awards, I like it, how Dr. Pumbal mentioned, like clubbing together all the distinctions in medical school, because when you try to clutter your application, it loses focus. So more concise, more focused and detailed it is, better it is. I'm going to go back to, for 1 minute, I'm going to talk about geographical preference and setting preference. This has been high and signaling, and has been highly, discussed and debated topic. In my opinion, as an IMG, many of us don't have geographical preference. If you don't have a geographical preference, you don't need to make one up. You can list up to 3 US census subdivisions. If you have one, pick one. The most important thing that matters is what you write in description that Dr. Pumbal showed to us. Why do you like being in, New York, New Jersey? Why do you like being there? Why do you like being in Chicago? Or so just write in the description. And as an IMG, it's okay to not have geographical preferences. How you explain it, setting preference, same thing. You don't need to have a setting preference. Signaling out. This is the last topic. Last pointer for me for signaling. If depending on your specialty, your signals may change, and if you're applying in more than one specialty, you will get signals for each specialty. So make sure there is 95% chances that if you apply to a program and you signal that program, your application is going to be reviewed. So use your signals very carefully. Only apply to the programs where you have meet the criteria and they accept people like you. You can apply to, for example, Ivy Leagues like Harvard, Yale, John Hopkins, but if you don't meet the program application criteria, your credential does not match, they're not going to offer interview. Each signal is your tool to get an interview, so use it wisely. I'm probably forgetting 1 to 2 more things, but we can discuss this in an interview. Thank you. I took longer than I was hoping for.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. I think we are still good on time and great tips as always, Adhik, so we appreciate it. Before moving on to Khurram, to the audience, if you guys can now start typing the questions in the QA, and also we would like you to raise hands and ask your questions when after we go to Khurram. So we have close to 100. We have actually 150 participants, so we may not be able to. Uh, answer all, but we'll try our best and go with the format. So, Khurram, any advice, any, overall, just maybe share your story, how your CV work was picked up, things that you know throughout, and anything else that you think have been missed that you can cover, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Dr. Siddiq. Most of the stuff has already talked about by Dr. Naveed and Pumbal. They have covered the basics, the most important and high yield thing. I will do just a little bit fillers here and there. I will just again start with the, so the CV is the first impression, your first impression towards the program, and it's the most important the impression, and we shouldn't ignore that. Then the LORs and all that stuff are here and there to help you with that. As Dr. Naveed mentioned that during the first section is the information section. Only one point that I want to highlight is that in the identifying information, there is one thing that is email. So your email should be professional. Like, this is important, that show you how you are as a person. Let's say you cannot, make a, the email saying, oh, favorite kid of my parents at gmail.com. So this show how good you are as professional. So your email should be like professional. Otherwise, rest of the sections are already like, the field, and then you can change the visa status as Dr. Naveed mentioned. Then comes the second section. Most of the stuff Pombal and Dr. Naveed has already mentioned. So I will just add one point. in education section, if you have any other degree, like regardless of that, if it is relevant to the medicine or not, let's say you have done a bachelor's, let's say you have done a BSc, yet let's say do you have another degree in maybe business administration before you move to the medicine. So you mentioned that degree in your education, because in United States, like these things do have value, and these things you should show that, like let's say if somebody have a degree in business administration, maybe programs will take as that you have more leadership skills, or more you can adapt to the leadership roles. So that's why like you should mention whatever is relevant to your education. Then in experience section, so one thing I want to highlight is the volunteer experiences. So we always have done a lot in our back home, and we cannot, like we do not usually talk about those experiences. And in United States, the volunteer experiences is very important. So your CV should have volunteer experiences, and most of the times we do have the done in our home countries. So why volunteer experiences are important? One thing is that it show your humanism side of your personality. And the second thing is that you always, let's say, correlate those experiences with what will make you a good resident. Let's say you can say that, let's say you worked in a flood relief camp, and you are working with 4 or 5 other physicians, or you are working with a team of 10 to 15 people. So you can tailor your experience in a way that, like, it help you to improve your teamwork skills, and these skills are required as a resident. So you can always as Dr. Anvid and Pombal said that, so you can always, like tailor what you get out of that. So you always mention what was the most important learning point, and how it did shape your personality. Then in publications, so as Dr. Sadiq already mentioned about that, so you can even mention about your unpublished papers. You can also mention if you have done any oral public presentation. Let's say in your med school there was a grand round, and you did a great oral presentation in front of the rest of the faculty. You can mention in your CV even that, even if it's not a published research. Then among honors and awards, so again, try to be honest and try to mention whatever you have achieved, regardless if it is relevant to the again field of medicine. Let's say if you are a captain of the college, let's say cricket team or university cricket team, just mention that, like, you are the captain there. And again, it you can mention, let's say if it is something that that is not very common here, you can mention a 1 to 2 line about that, so they know that what you are talking about. But again, it will give the other person a chance to ask a question, and then you can even talk about that, how it shaped your personality, how it fit into that to make you a good resident. So your everything at the end should be tailored what they are looking for in a resident. It should be in your mind. They are not interested that, like they if you play cricket, how good you are in cricket, maybe even they don't know. But they will be interested how good leader you are, because there will be the times when they you have to take the leadership roles as a resident. So you can talk about that. Oh, I was the captain of the university cricket team, and it helped me shape my leadership skills. Like I led my team to win the you can say the district tournament or whatever. So that's how you tailor whatever you have done in your life, how it shaped your personality to be a good resident, and all those attributes or the characters that are required in a resident. And then in the certification portion, Dr. Sadak has already mentioned. So whatever, there are a lot of free like membership and the certification that you can try to grab or achieve. Then you can do in certification, you can do ACLS, BLS, and those kind of the stuff. And then the last section comes towards the hobbies, and that's one of the, like, I will say that one of the most important sections that we sometimes just fill it with the all those, let's say, if you have a true hobby, just mention that and mention it honestly. Let's say in my, you know almost like, all the interviews, they did ask me about my hobby because it was a little bit different. I used to do paper quilling. It's an art, like, where you cut the paper into thin strips, and then you shape into like different structures. You make the cross section of brain, you make the cross section of different stuff. So it was an interesting thing. So I mentioned that, so they almost always ask about that hobby because that was interesting. So if you have any interesting hobby, you should mention in that, and you do not clutter your hobbies with a lot of, like, common stuff. Maybe if you have any interesting hobbies, you should mention that. So they used to ask me, and I made sure that I kept one of the the craft that I made. It was along my, so I was able to show them and able to demonstrate that how I do that, so it looked good on your CV. And again, maybe if I am doing a paper quilling was not important for the program, but how I present that, I used to say that, oh, because this required a fine hand skills, maybe that was the reason I was good with the procedures, like, I was good with the center line, I was good. So that's how you just pick one thing and you just try to correlate it with something that is relevant to your residency. So that's how I used to say that, oh yeah, my hand skills were maybe better because of that fine handwork movement, and that's why I was good with the procedures and that kind of stuff. So yeah, so that's all from my side. Only just to wrap up the things, just the general couple of things is that your CV should be precise, concise, should be honest, accurate, no cluttering, no, there shouldn't be any fillers. It should be true reflection of your personality that you can defend when somebody asks something. So
Great.
there is nothing like, a bad looking image if you put something in your CV and you are not that. And if somebody, and again, people like Dr. Sadiq, people like Dr. Khurram, they are very smart. They are there in those roles for years and years. If you wrote something and you are not that person, they will immediately know that you are not that, and then it will raise a lot of question on the other areas of your CV as well, that you are, but because of one person thing that you just used as a filler, and you just spoil the whole game. Okay, thank you.
Great input, Kuram. I totally agree with you. I think the most important is like program directors, faculty interviewing you, they can tell like within a minute or within few minutes like how accurate and if that's real you. So most important thing is being you yourself. So let's kind of move on to questions, and if you guys can raise in. So far, I only can see one raise hand. So we'll first go with the audience, and after that we'll go in the chat also. And also just housekeeping rules that we were not going to answer any anonymous questions. We have been preaching this for quite some time, and not even on YPC forum we don't take it. So, but this is a pretty close group of 100. If you guys are not confident enough to just ask your questions by your name, then we don't feel comfortable answering it. So moving on, first let's take a question. First question from Maruf Shahid. Maruf, please go ahead and mute yourself and ask your question.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, hello everyone. This is Maruf Shahid here. I am a 2023 graduate from Services Institute of Medical Sciences. I have a question regarding an ideal LOR. Usually, what preceptors do is that they ask from the observers that you guys should write an LOR on your own, and uh, I want to ask that what are the qualities of what are the qualities of a good LOR? Like what things do we need to mention in that LOR to make it look
Okay,
ideal?
you got your question. Thank you. Sadiq bhai, would you like to answer?
Yeah. So I, I think in LOR, the LORs are of can be generic. It can be personalized. So if your supervisor is hopefully able to edit that LOR and talk a little bit more about his experience with you, that really helps. I think Khurram mentioned about humanism. So humanism, empathy, the social skills that matter. In the clinical skills area also, your medical knowledge, your patient care skills, like if you are doing an externship and you are able to get patient history. I'm going to give psych specific examples. So history taking, mental status, those things are important. If you're working in a team environment, how do you get along with other people? Are you able to resolve conflict easily? How do you take conflict if there is an adversity? How do you handle that? If outside of that, in a supervisee supervisor relationship, how do you take feedback? Whether you take feedback and build on that, and can build on that. So these are certain things that matter. I will also ask you guys to look into the core competencies. There are 6 ACGME core competencies. Look into that. There are certain examples of those core competencies. So we look for those things in the good LOR. And if the LOR says that this person is top 1% of the people who have you worked with, that's going to carry greater weightage. I have written maybe only for 2 to 3 people so far, out of maybe more than 100 LORs that I wrote.
So I'll take a moment to just address a few, I think common questions that might be asked is, CV. Many people, ask about the CV being, if they're going to be able to get some rotations in internal medicine, family medicine, pediatrics. And these days, guys, just understand that the competition is so much. Maybe 10 years ago, it used to happen that, you just get a lures from here and there and then put everything in khichdi bana de and then something will work out. It just doesn't work anymore. There are some internal medicine, family medicine may go together because of some primary care overlap and hospitalist jobs that both of specialties can do. So that can go. But pediatrics is completely different than internal medicine. It just doesn't go together. Similarly, psych and internal medicine and psych and pediatrics, or people still think pathology, you can just get a couple of letters and you have the entire CV of internal medicine apply with it. It just doesn't work this way. And eventually you're going to be wasting a lot of your resources, money, and most importantly, your time and years. So please keep your CV very focused because that's a few questions I saw. So just keep that in mind. Please keep your CV very focused. Your experience is very focused. So the other thing I think commonly being asked about the letters, I think Dr. Sadiq already mentioned it. And similarly, I think when you have your CV, your scores and everything, your clinical knowledge is already there so people can see to that. But I think the couple of things that in any letter of recommendation would stand out and make, would be very important is your overall personality, the feedback from the staff, whichever specialty you are in, internal medicine, family medicine, pediatrics, even pathology, the interaction and the feedback that people get. If I'm getting like I'm taking like 30-40 students in a year, for example, there's only 5% of those students where I get the feedback from my staff that these students who came down, they were excellent, amazing, because most of the time, unfortunately, many of our students, they don't understand that part of their rotation. That's where most of the times people are coming in just seeking the LOR rather than focusing on overall what you're going to be learning through that rotation, and that will eventually show in your letter of recommendation, on your CV, and most importantly in your interviews. So building those connections, having those communications is going to be very important too. Let's take a few more questions from the audience. In the meantime, I think the panelists are already replying in the QA, but feel free if you guys can type in the questions while we take some more questions from the audience. So Asma Imtiaz, please go ahead, unmute yourself and ask your question. Asma, you're still on mute. All right, we'll move on to Soha Bhatt. Soha, please go ahead, unmute yourself and ask your question. So go ahead.
Assalamualaikum, everyone. Thank you so much for conducting this webinar. It is super insightful. Am I audible?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So I had two questions. First question is to do with when we are requesting an LOR to our preceptor, what do you think attaching in that request would help our preceptor draft or customize the LOR they're writing for us? And the second question is, besides linking our researches that have been published in ERAS, can we attach other links such as the work that we are doing? For example, if I have a website where I am putting out content to do with the medical interest that I have, can I link that website as well, or a professional portfolio where I'm coding or creating things in the ERAS CV? Thank you
Okay,
so much.
you're welcome. Any of the panelists would like to answer this?
So I'm gonna let others answer too, because if I will keep my mic open, it's gonna stay open.
I know. Bumble, what do you think about those? Is there a way to? I think one should definitely insert those links. Those are very important and very uncommon to have. For example, I know a couple of my mentees, they have some YouTube channel, they have some, certain following, they have art pages like Hora mentioned, and I believe you should mention it definitely in the
So
ask.
if they have a website that and she regularly posts medical content into it, put that in the work experience and put that as a social media learning experience or social media content creator related to medical field in the heading. Put in your link so that people can go to link and see, and tell them what did you learn. Suppose you learned video editing, suppose you learned how to put in subtitles on a video. All of these are again soft skills, and you learned that, and you also learned how to deliver public health issue, or you can go around like this and of course mention that it makes you different, and it's world of tech and it makes you stand out too.
Sure. And about the LOR request, I think the basic thing is at least send your CV when you're sending a request for your LOR. So that's number one thing. And is there anything in particular that you would like to mention? Because many times, especially those preceptors who have a lot of students, they may not. You may have some conversations like this. For example, you told me, if you were rotating with me, you told me you have this YouTube channel or you have this podcast series. You have certain things, and then we discuss about it. And now during later I may not remember. So just bringing that up, I think it can be helpful too. Ji Sadiq.
So I think you talked about two things. So exactly, attach your CV. And if it's someone in Pakistan who doesn't know about ACGME core competencies, you can attach that. If your specialty have LOR guidelines, you can do that. So recently I wrote a LOR for someone who was applying for med school. So they send me guidelines on, about that. So that was very helpful. Um, about the website, definitely if you have some unique experiences, mention them. So I interviewed a candidate last year or year before. He developed a website around a Rishta website basically. So he has a matchmaking website, and we talked about that for 5 to 10 minutes. So what it shows is your organizational skills, your initiative. So in your case, so if you are doing content writing, under publications, there is research publications. There is a section where it says other publications. So I think you can list it there too. If I don't know if you can loop it into your personal statement, you can mention it if it highlights some aspects of your skill. So you can list them there too. Thank you.
Hmm. Asma, we'll give you another chance. If you still have a question, if you're around, unmute yourself and ask your question.
Sorry, it
And
was by mistake. Thank you very
it's
much.
all right. Go ahead. Okay, so you don't have a question. All right. So next we have Nida Safdar. Please go ahead and ask your question.
Assalamualaikum. Can you
Assalam.
hear me?
Yes.
So my question is, as I'm doing my residency here in pathology. So as you all know, whosoever, as you are in pathology, so here in Pakistan, we decide our main domain right from the start. It's not like an APCP program as if I'm doing microbiology. So all of my training is in microbiology along with a full 1 year of rotational training. I was making my CV just to be on the safer side so that I have to put all the things. My question is that all my research, all my presentations, it's all related to microbiology. There is nothing else, but it is good. Yes, 4 to 5 publications, 3 to 4 presentations, oral presentations, along with some, there is some stuff, a good stuff, I must say, and with some awards. So uh, I become skeptical that it just shows one aspect of my residency, and how is it going to
Yeah.
impact?
Yeah, so I got your point. So, and I think I'll just answer quite just overall about pathology briefly because I saw some other questions in the chat also. So basically, number one thing is for pathology specifically, I'll tell you 100%, we do not want to see anything else in your CV. So it has to be very, very specific, and I'll give you just a few examples that how competitive it's become now. Out of those 1100, close to 1100 Pakistanis you have matched, only 12 Pakistanis matched this year. So it's getting very, very difficult. So that's but the good thing about pathology is that, you know, the scores year of graduation is still will be forgiven if you only have pathology in your CV. So that's number one. We understand, and in Pakistan, the residency training is different, but it's very important. The most important home country experience in your CV will be a home country residency in that specialty. So you can definitely mention that you are a pathology resident in the Department of Pathology at this institution, and then kind of explain your roles and duties. So yes, microbiology is generally in US is not that much part of a pathology anymore. Everything is just goes into the clinical part, and that's most of them though are run by by technologies and all that. So as a residency, you may not get to do a lot in microbiology anymore, but still you can sell yourself as couple of ways. And then I tell this to my mentees who are doing other sorts of residencies in pathology in Pakistan also, that just talk to your department that you can still rotate in histopathology, in hematopathology or something, and then you just mention that, try to work with your department and then try to put those things in, because I understand that microbiology is this something you can do, but I'm like you said, I think you have other rotations also, so mention those in a core part of your residency training. Publications in microbiology or any other thing, it's going to be important. So definitely put that. But at the same time, do try to get some rotations in pathology in US. Without those, it's going to be very hard to get interviews just based on home country experience. And that goes for all the other specialties. And also just briefly mention that for all pathology, mentorship rotations and all that, you guys can reach out to me later on, and we can add you to another society called PAPS, and we can guide you through there and connect you to a mentor also for pathology. And also the rotations, the letters of recommendation, definitely from home country is going to be extremely important for all the specialties that you guys have. And while on the same topic, I also want to mention here that many people ask about this medical officer. It definitely is something clinically that you have been active clinically, but trust me, every single Pakistani, every single CV that I've seen, everyone is a medical officer in Pakistan. So it's not really that impactful, but it's definitely something that you have done. So you can definitely put it if there's nothing else you can. But unfortunately, what I have seen is that there are so many repetitive applicants who have been applying for a couple of years. They've still not been able to get into home country residency. And I do not understand the reason why. There are multiple ways to get into home country residency. FCPS is just one part, but then there's also every other teaching institution, hospital, they have MD programs. You can get into that. You have MCPS. You have so many other things that you can get into the home country residency. I have seen in my experience, I do not know a single mentee of mine who have not been able to get into residency or fellowship if they have the home country residency. So if you are applying next year, the year after or something, and even if you are talking to your friends, just advise them to get and this is also a good backup. You never know if you're going to match or not. The chances are always going to be in that 50 to 60% ratio. So you can have a good backup plan. So at least I've seen people 5 years down the line, and still they are a medical officer, and unfortunately they start all over. So that's something that you guys should look into. Ji, Sadhguru.
So there are a couple of things that came up in some questions. I want to address them. So one question, certificates really don't have
I, you're breaking up. We're not able to hear. Can anyone else hear, Sadiq? No. Okay. Sadiq bhai, I think your connection is, so we are not able to hear.
Impact on.
Okay. I think there's some. Sadiq bhai, maybe try turning off the video. We cannot hear you at all. Okay. I think in the meantime, we can go take the questions up until the situation, the internet gets better. So, Mishal Afzal, please go ahead, unmute yourself and ask a question.
Hello, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes.
Hello. Okay. So first of all, thank you so much, everyone, for attending this webinar. My question is that if someone is applying in second time in a cycle, how do they if they're using experiences from like last year and they then use experience from their home country for this year? Would that be okay? If I include my home country experience for this year and my US experiences from last year, how would that look on my CV? Because I'm a little confused about that.
So again, that's kind of based on your personal situation, really. That if you can afford to come to US, if you can get the rotations, I would say 100% please come and do it. But we also in the second cycle, many people they do not have those resources. In that case, obviously you cannot do much, and you can just go with your previous experience. Try to update the letters because it's preferred that the letters of recommendations are within last 6 months. So if you can ask your letter writer to write another letter, but otherwise if you can afford to come to the US again this year, I would think that you should do it, but that's okay. By the way, sorry, you got disconnected and you can continue
Yeah.
what you were saying before. Yeah.
Yeah, so there was a question about certificates. So certificates really don't have strong impact unless you did, a leadership course from a significant, institution. One-time interactions and courses, in my opinion, has low yield. But since you guys did that, you can certainly mention that in other honors and awards. I would not mention it in the experience section. There was a question that I attended a research workshop and wanted to mention it under research experience. I would not do it there, maybe under others honor and awards. If you did a research course, for me it is more important what did you do with that research course, whether you were able to get some publications by using those skills. So that's more important. And you cannot upload your certificates. How will know whether you did them or not is by asking questions, and how authentic was you in prescribing your in describing your experience for those certificate experiences or workshops. That's one thing. Second thing, someone asked about mentioning attempt in ERAS CV. There are certain parts of application, so personal statement can be used for certain things. And similarly, there is letter of recommendation. ERAS CV is more sort of a factual description of your experiences and your information. So use them wisely. I also think, there was some questions about multi-specialty experience, and as Sadiq mentioned, more and more specialties are becoming competitive. So you have to have specialty specific experience. If you cannot, or you want to gain experience of other specialties, maybe one more which is clinically related, for example IM or NFM. But if you are getting experience of IM and pathology, I will be very doubtful if you're truly interested in either of those specialties. So keep your resume very focused. There was also a question about LOR. If you are applying to with three LORs in psych, and two of LORs are in psych and one is IM, that's okay. But your IM LOR should talk about your psych interests. If it is saying that you're a good applicant for For IM residency, that's a no go for me. So make sure that your LORs is, if you are uploading 3 or 4, one can be from another specialty, but keep it mostly focused in specialty of your interest. Thank you.
And so justifying home country experience and continuing in US clinical experience is the same, is going to be the goal. I've seen just last week at least couple of requests. I saw a request who was demonstrator in pathology in Pakistan and seeking rotations in internal medicine here. Again, now that's just CVs just would not fit because all the way from Pakistan you have been doing one specialty. Now you're looking similarly. I've seen clinically active people like medical officer in Pakistan, which is kind of a primary care physicians, and now seeking rotations here in pathology. So again, that disconnect, I feel eventually you're going to be wasting a lot of your time and resources. So let's take another question. Zainab Rauf, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi. I'm a graduate of 2022 from King Edward Medical University. My question is, I have a house job experience in surgery in 2022. I also asked in question answer sessions, but I could not understand. So I wanted to ask live that I have this experience in surgery and allied surgery. And after that, I moved to Chicago area. So I don't have any hands-on experience over there in Pakistan other than just some private setup, like in again outing of the patients. And after that, I have some good experiences of observerships and volunteering in America, even with Northwestern, like with good institutions also. So I was thinking if I'm going to add house job in my 10 experiences in ERAS, after that, I start adding up my US experiences that will fill up my 10 experiences, which is going to give an impact that I am having a clinical gap because of not being active in Pakistan over there. So should I add some of that experience from Pakistan of those private setup, or should I be still putting or filling those 9 experiences with my US experiences? Thank you.
Ji, Khurram, would you like to answer this question?
Yeah, so I think so. The overall gap in the CV always, look not good. I will say that. Um, but again, the kind of work you did back home, it's how you will able to justify that it was meaningful whatever you did there. And the most importantly that experience, because likely it was a hand-on experience, so what did you learn from that and how it shaped you like as a resident. So my 2 cents will be, if you have a meaningful experience, you should mention that, like regardless if it is private experience. Most likely it will be kind of medical officer experience, but maybe it will be better than not mentioning at all and leaving a gap in your CV. And as you said, let's say if you have 7 experiences from the US and 3 back home, skipping one experience from Pakistan and adding another 8. I don't know what kind of experience. Let's say if you have 7 clinical experience, but your 8th experience from the US is a research experience where you, started a new, let's say, research coordinator or something like that. I would say that to add the US experience, but it depends on. But let's say if it's already you have a 7 observerships and now it's an 8th observership, so I will say that okay, better is to go with. So it depends upon what kind of experiences you have here, and what's the 8th one or the new one you are adding. Will it be a different one, or it will be just the same as kind of observership?
Bilkul. I totally agree. I think I would definitely mention some experience from Pakistan and maybe try to put if you have worked as a medical officer in multiple different settings or different hospitals, maybe you can lump it up together that in general this is what your job was and you worked at different hospitals or something. But I would certainly mention some experience from Pakistan. And also I think I totally agree with Khurram here, having 6 observerships versus 8 observerships in the CV does not make that impactful experience. So, I can definitely skip, but make sure that, you do put in your CV. If you have a couple of outpatients rotations, then you have some inpatients rotations, in some community hospitals versus teaching hospitals, university hospitals, to try to, pick from all settings, from maybe different regions, and add those. Ji Sadiq bhai,
Yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. So I think the way the ERA CV has shaped now, the way they have structured it now, there is a very high chance that if you're an older graduate, there's gonna be some clinical gaps. So don't worry about that. You can only worry about things that are in your control. I would second point that I would say is, and this goes to other people, 150 people in the chat, is that try to put your internship or house job experience as one experience. There's no need to put it separately. And I would, rather than lumping all the medical experience, that's where and you will hear this too, because we all have different experiences, different viewpoints. I will probably not lump medical experience in different settings together. That's just my take on it. But if you list 1 year of house job, that's good enough. Maybe 4 to 5 another. I completely agree with Khurram that maybe few other clinical experience, couple of volunteer experience, 1 to 2 research experience. So make it more diverse, and also remember residency is primarily a clinical experience. It's not a research or volunteer experience. Yes, we like those experiences because that tells us that you have certain skill set, but my generally take is, and I don't know how other people would feel, 6 to 7 clinical, 2 or 3, two maybe at most volunteer experience, 1 to 2 research experience. That's a good mix to have. But having said this, many of you may not have that number, so don't worry about it. Each person's CV is going to look very different from each other. Worry about what you have and how you can present. If you don't have it, that's completely fine. I reviewed 750 application last year. Each application looks different from each other. Each application have its own strengths and its own weaknesses. So don't worry about too much about what you don't have. Worry about what you have. Thank you.
Completely. Great. Thank you. Ji Hamad, please go ahead and mute yourself and ask your question. Mohammed Hamad.
Assalamu alaikum.
Ji Aslam.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Hamad, and I'm a grad of 2020 from Nishtar and currently a resident at Nishtar Hospital, Multan. My question is that this would be the fifth year of graduation, as many people are saying to me that you are a 2020 grad, so this is 2025. But others are saying that this would be the sixth year. So this is kind of confusing for me that I am still under the 5-year umbrella or not. Thank you.
Can I answer
Ye-
that question?
Yes, please go
Sadiq?
ahead, Sadiq bhai.
So there was also another question about year of graduation, what you should consider at year of graduation. So year of graduation goes based on what's your year of graduation on your MSPE. When you apply on September 27th or 28th, depending on what's listed on your MSP at that time compared to September 28th, 2025, that would be your years since graduation. So calculate that. If it's 5 years, it's 5 years. If it's 6 years, it's 6 years. Also, if you feel like you may not be able to get response from many programs and you have been clinically active, I will strongly suggest reach out to those programs now. And with your CV and personal statement, let them know what you have been doing and if they will be willing to review your application.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, moving to Arisha Javed. Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for the insightful session. And my question is related to my LOR. So I rotated at a hospital where for 4 weeks, where I was with a different doctor each week. And then at the end of my rotation, I did like manage to ask like each doctors individually for an LOR. But I believe I was able to relate and like strongly impress a particular preceptor of mine who I was only with for 5 days. But my head of department suggested me that rather I should upload a cumulative LOR where I'll be getting a single LOR with the feedback of all the four physicians combined. So I was just wondering, like, if that is a thing because I've never really heard of it, and if I should rather just have an LOR from a single preceptor who I was with only for 5 days, but I was able to impress her, or if I should like go for an LOR cumulative of four doctors throughout the 4 weeks, so that could show the consistency of my performance throughout the 4 weeks. So I'm really confused and I don't know who to
Yeah,
approach for
very
that.
good. Yeah, yeah, good question. My input in this is, okay, you should go for a cumulative. One person, the head of department, if they are, willing to write the letter with other preceptors' input, I personally feel that's the way I would go. But I would like Sadiq Bhai to pitch in what he feels.
So last year, I wrote an LOR where I wrote a composite LOR with another faculty. I think if four people are saying that you're a good physician and you can be a good asset to a residency program, based on a 4 weeks experience, that's going to carry a lot of value based on an LOR from one faculty who worked with you for 5 days. I don't think anyone can write five LOR or know a person from 5 days interaction. So go for composite LOR, have all four names in there. I have done this, and it didn't backfire. That person is amazing and received 12 plus interviews, but it's just not because of LOR, because they have a lot of other strengths.
I want to add something to that. I actually have a multi-author LOR. So it was 3 weeks rotation, and after every week, the attending would switch. So when I requested the LOR, they said, okay, we will write it together. So when you put in request for LOR, you can only put it for one attending, not two. But they can make paragraph separates, write their names, and that would be uploaded from one attending name. But when somebody will open it, there will be two attending notes to it, and it works fine. And it adds a value to your LOR that you worked with more than one person.
Kumbal, I did not understand this. So you can you explain this again? So they are writing it in different, and then you're talking about they can upload separately on the ERAS?
No, Dr. Khurram, the thing is, suppose if I ask Dr. Khurram and Dr. Naveed, and I was rotating with you, 2 weeks with you and 2 weeks with Dr. Naveed in the similar situation and in the similar institute, and you both want to write me an LOR, I can send request to only one if it is the
Right.
multi-author LOR. So I will suppose send request to you. You can add in the words from Dr. Naveed to it, but it will be uploaded from your name because a request was sent to
Mm.
you. And when some a
Right,
program
yeah.
director will open that, he will see, okay, there are two people
Sure.
authors of this.
Yeah, yeah, that I got. Okay, great. All right, Samia, please go ahead and ask your question.
Hello. Firstly, thank you for this amazing session. So my question is from Dr. Khurram. As you mentioned, for the pathology, you should be specific. So I'm 2023 graduate, and then I did a house job for the 1 year, like in the medicine surgery, but not in the pathology. Should I mention this in the CV?
Yes, so for house job, it's kind of you can mention it somewhere that it is kind of mandatory to get the license in Pakistan. And again, when you have just recently graduated, you do not have much to write in your CV. So your electives and your because in your electives anywhere, if you have those in your medical school, that's going to be important. For example, in pathology, and then from now on, since graduation, you still have like, so 2023 graduates still have about a year, so that year is going to be very important, that what did you do in that year? And also, the way to kind of mix in is going to be with other specialties also. Everyone from Pakistan, most of these days, not everyone, have done internship here. The way to justify would be again that, this is a basic requirement in order for you to get registered in Pakistan. So, so that's kind of where you should put, and also explain it how this internship will make you a better pathologist, because although we are not clinically, like we're not seeing the patient, but having the basic clinical knowledge obviously is going to be very important. And so that's how I would you kind of push it through. Let's see, any more questions from the all right, so we have Arisha. I think we went through Arisha, Javed. Seemab Fatma. Seemab, please go ahead and ask your question.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for this session. So my question is regarding research. So I want to ask that if I have like limited research, I have like five abstracts, two case reports with the literature reviews and one meta-analysis. Should I mention it in this in the research, and how should I mention it? Like, would they ask like thorough questions about that or what? Because I'm not the first or second author.
Ji Khurram, would you like to answer this?
Yeah, so they usually ask about that. So you can mention what was your role in that research. Let's say, you know, if it was a meta-analysis, what you did. Did you do the Prisma diagram, or did you do the literature research, or what was your role? Are you just like, you know, incorporated the data into the Excel sheet? So they will ask you what was your role, and you have to you should be should know the overall, like, you know, what was the the study, and what actually you guys did overall briefly. But let's say if you didn't do the actual analysis, let's say, so they will, you should, you know, politely tell that you didn't do the actual, like, you know, analysis, or the, you know, that was done by whoever, you know, was the, if there is a biostatistician or whoever. But what was your role, and what you did? So you should be able to do that, and you should be able to talk about, like, you know, what was your findings at the end.
Okay. So I'm not able to see. I've just had to log in from my phone. But if you guys can see any questions from the QA, please, we'll just take a last couple. Feel free to answer that, panelists, and let me just quickly see if we have other hands raised. So, Mohammed Haroon, please go ahead and ask your question.
Good afternoon, doctor. I hope you can listen to me. I,
Yes.
j- I just need to ask regarding the AI detectors for our personal statements and our CV. Are there some kind of AI detectors this time around?
Sorry, your voice dropped.
Any AI detectors for CV and PS?
Yeah, like if we take help of Chat GPT or any other thing.
Yeah. So, Assalamu alaikum, Gulrez. We don't know yet because we just got access to ERAS PDWS, which is Program Director Workstation, about a couple weeks ago. I don't know if there is an AI detector at this time. And I don't think there would be an AI detector, but the way the AI speaks, I can pick when it is AI written. Your narrative, when it has a human element to it, it is very different than AI. So please don't do that. One thing that I do is, and I think that you should also do, all of you, don't use AI to write your stuff. But what I do is, let's say I wrote something, I wrote my personal statement for my promotion. What I did was I put it in Chat GPT. I asked him to fix any spelling mistakes, like grammatical errors, and just those. And I asked him not to change the content of it. So what it did was it fixed any language errors, any grammatical errors, and spelling mistakes. Don't ever use it for the personal statement writing. It is a big red.
True. Agree. So we'll just take a few questions, but before that, I'll go to Gulrez. Gulrez, आज बड़े अच्छे लग रहे हो. ये छोटे छोटे लग रहे हो. क्या हो गया? You're
वो
growing like backwards,
बाल
you know.
बाल कटे हुए हैं और शेप बनी हुई है इसलिए
मैंने कैब्स
आई
पहचानने में
वुड
नहीं आ रहे थे. So please go ahead and share your, pearls of wisdom before we take last two
नहीं
questions.
आई एम सो सॉरी आई जॉइंड फिर लेकिन मेरी अम्मी का फोन आ गया तो आई टू ड्रॉप ऑफ तो thing on the AI part is I feel like we should be very careful what we use, as Sadiq bhai kind of like pointed out, is the language that AI uses is very predictable. Like you, when you read it, you know that this is being done by somebody else. क्योंकि कभी कभार Siddiq bhai writes up a big write up and asks कि वाह भाई chat GPT अच्छा चल रहा है. So you can actually pick up the language that is being used. So I would be very careful. What I will do is I'll write my first draft. And then, as just Sadik Bhai pointed out, is like use it to fix the grammar, fix the language, and maybe shorten it up a bit as well. But try to remain true that you wrote it yourself and then use tools to improve it rather than a tool writing it and then you improving it. That's a no go. Baki, I saw Pumbals and Sadik Bhai's part before I dropped off, so I agree pretty much with it. Is CV is very integral to your um, application process. Started now. I wrote a timeline few years ago, which is still pretty relevant. This is the time that you start working on your CV so that your things are ready and you're not being rushed into the whole thing and then making silly mistakes. Because we review CVs every year, and there are so many mistakes. Even in somebody who's very proficient in English, they will miss a comma. They will put things in capital that are not supposed to be in capital. They will do things that are absolutely a turn off, and you go like, oh, this it just makes you feel bad. So make sure that you work on these things appropriately in a timely fashion and start on it right.
So I think AI is very important these days. So writing just a few posts about a webinar that this is something that we're going to be doing. It's easy to just give it instructions to AI that this is time, topic, and all that, and everything makes your life easier. But again, I think I've mentioned a couple of other webinars, Karen. Now writing my own. This is my personal statement. This is something that I want somebody to hear. It should be my language. So I think I mentioned the a famous saying from one of my friend is ke, um, putting a Bollywood, script in a Hollywood, movie, it's just generally doesn't work out. तो आपकी लैंग्वेज जो है कि वो इतनी अंग्रेजी उसमें ठूसी हुई है और जब आपसे इंटरव्यू में बात हो रही है and you're just not able to communicate that and the language is completely different and that is the biggest red flag to me. If I am taking an interview and आपकी CV or personal statement में क्या लिखा हुआ है और जब आप बात कर रहे हैं and it's a completely different person and that's a no-no for me. And I think I've checked with multiple. That's a no-no for them also. So please be authentic and help getting the help from the AI is great. आप उससे tips ले सकते हैं, grammar correct करा सकते हैं, but at least keep your own language, keep your own story. तो
I
तो,
want to add to
जी
this. So, Dr. Kuram, when I made my CV in 2023, they had that disclosure or disclaimer in the end. They made a sign that we did not use any AI. If any of the program director did find that, they are going to cross my application. So I don't know which detectors are used. Detectors are being used by the program directors, but they can literally bar you from participating in the ERAS if they find out
yeah,
that you used AI.
good pointer. All right, we'll take last two questions. One from Javeria, and after that Javeria, it's Anila. So please go ahead, Javeria, unmute yourself and ask us.
Hello everyone. Good afternoon. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Okay. So as Dr. Khurram advised, securing a residency spot in Pakistan as soon as possible can be a helpful step forward. So if someone like me who has dual applied in IM and FM and gets into an internal medicine residency in Pakistan and gets an interview for FM, how can they justify their internal medicine residency? I have another question, which is most of my research during medical school was with my batchmates and few of my seniors. There's only one project with head of orthopedics, which I did during my internship. And my roles in each of the researches is slightly different. So can you advise how can I shape this in one of the 10 ERAS experiences?
Gulesh, you want to take this?
For the, I'll answer the second part, the research part. Honestly, if you already have a publication out of it, you don't necessarily have to mention it as an experience. What I usually recommend is a research experience is something that is more longitudinal, where I worked with somebody for 6 months, 12 months, got something meaningful, had some trainings done for it. That's what usually I recommend as a research experience. Like what I did, I can give my example. I was at University of Kentucky. We submitted a protocol to CIBMTR. So I did actually things for almost 6 months. That's what made it relevant experience for me to put it in this ERA CV as a research experience, not as a publication. But these are like passing experiences. You can try to mention them, as one research experience and like jot down all the things that you have learned through all of these processes, but I think that will be too much to sum up and write it professionally within like the limitations of the word limits. So I would just mention them as publications. As for your IM versus FM, there is a lot of similarity between the two fields. You can essentially say FM is does not exist as a specialty in Pakistan yet. There are few diploma courses that are happening. I think there are two programs that have opened up in the whole of Pakistan. So FM is still in infancy. So you can say like I love taking care of chronic medical issues and having the longitudinal care, which will suffice with both IM and FM, and that should cover that aspect. But we should be doing a webinar on the interview question and approaches soon as well.
Sure. Good. All right. Last question from Anila. Go
Thank
ahead.
you. Thank you, Dr. Khurram, for giving me the chance to speak. I have a question like in many hospitals, when we observe one preceptor, there is mostly week on and week off. So if we are going in one city, if we are observing a preceptor, he is on week off. So in that week off, we do some clinical rotation with another physician in the same affiliated with the same hospital. So in our ERAS CV, how we can mention that two experience, if that should be mentioned in one experience, or we can do in two experience, but that will be in the same timeline. So I'm a little confused how to aid this thing.
Yeah, I think this was answered before already, kind of the same, that this is one experience, not two experiences. But I also agree with Poombal's initial presentation. I mean, you don't have to write the preceptor name in there. The letters of recommendation are there, so you don't really need to put in the name, and you just rotate it, and you can write in the description that you rotated with multiple preceptors, and like we discussed, and Sadiq Bhai also mentioned about the composite LOR. And if they are willing to write you a combined letter, that was going to be a pretty good outcome through that rotation.
But the thing
Yeah.
is, Dr. Khurram, I have one more question. Like
Ji.
the rotation which I did, one was with a telephysician, so telepsychiatry. That was week on and week off. But the week off time, I was working with a physician who was in internal medicine but did addiction medicine. So it kind of sort of I was trying to correlate the addiction medicine and addiction psychiatry together. So that was my
Uh, they are through different institution or the same institution?
the clinic was related to affiliated with the same hospital, but that was a clinical setting and that was the hospital setting.
Ji,
Can
Sadiq
I
Bhai.
answer? So,
Ji.
Neela, first of all, when you're doing ERAS CV, we are not trying to get you based on the technicalities. So if you will, so generally, if it would be like, the way you described it earlier is a week on and week off, you're working with two faculty members. A single entry would have served the same purpose, that two entry would serve the purpose. So if a single entry is serving you the purpose, then I will just stick with one, because having two means you're cluttering your application with things that could have been mentioned in one under one's entry. If it is, a 1 month experience where you worked with someone in person, and 1 month and 2 weeks of tele, you can still mention it in the description section. But if you feel like, okay, I'm not gonna be able to explain in one entry, it's okay to split it. Say that, there's 2 weeks in the same hospital was doing addiction in tele, or vice versa. It's okay to say that. We're not trying to get you, oh, you did this mistake, it should have been one. So make once you will fill it, you will know that whether it makes sense, whether it is smooth enough for the CV writer. So go with that would be my first advice. And second advice would be, let's say if you have way more than 10 experiences and you want to add more, in that case you can lump it together too. And this goes for everyone. So I think we worry a lot about technicalities, and whether if I pick observership, whether it's an education, whether it's a clinical setting rotation, whether it's a work experience, pick the best you could, the best answer you could. Let's say for observership, if you picked clinical versus work versus education occasional. Even AAMC ERAS guidelines are very vague on this. I'm not gonna say, oh, I got you because you picked, work for the observership. It's
Yeah.
okay. It happens. Be genuine, be honest, keep your application very concise and very detailed. Try to list as many as things you can. Don't clutter it. You would be fine. PDs are generally nice people, compared to what people expect. They mean well, for all of you. So I hope
Good.
that, relieves some of the anxiety.
Great input, Sadhguru. Thank you. Chalo. So, Bill, before ending, again, going to the closing remarks for all the panelists, I have Arslan and Ayat also. Arslan is, again, one of our members of YPC for last several years and started the YPC Ambassador program. So, Arslan, what is your input overall about, the CV, and what would you like to add?
Thank you, Khurram bhai. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I was, attending like half of the session, so I listened to some of the questions. I think the one most important thing from my side on ERA CV is, और जो कि काफी सवालों में भी आई है, वो यही है कि your CV should be a reflection of you. So वही बात है कि आप कह रहे हैं कि can we use AI, can we not use AI? If you are the AI version of yourself, then use it that in your CV. So basically, जो आप को define कर सकती है, that is what the CV is. There is no general hard and fast rule in CV के ये आपने डालना है, ये नहीं डालना, ये डाल दें, ऐसे डाल दें. It should explain your professional life, and anything that a professional experience that is important to you should be part of your CV. And as Dr. Sadiq ने भी जिक्र किया कि however you write it, technicalities के ऊपर कोई नहीं जाता. All what we want to know that CV is an additional document that kind of adds into for program directors to know more about you. And same goes for LORs, itni technicalities mein koi nahi jata. The only thing what they want to know is that where you worked, what you worked, and then the person who has evaluated you knows, saying good things about you, and that's all what it is. Do ne likha, teen ne likha, composite hai, ek ne likha, it they don't go in nitty gritty details. The only thing is that if that CV explains you and tells about yourself, that is, I think, my bigger take on ERA CV is. Uh, Again, start early. Jitna jaldi aap shuru karenge, because you have to kind of review from this. One thing I'm very, 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 very straightforward, I want to tell to everybody. There is no mercy on spelling or grammatical mistakes in your CV. कोई मर्सी नहीं है. कोई बंदा आके इस टाइम पे अगर आपको ये कहता है कि मेरे से स्पेलिंग मिस्टेक्स हुई, माय ग्रामेटिकल मिस्टेक्स हुई, as everyone was saying, use AI for your grammatical mistakes. चाहे आपका फर्स्ट ड्राफ्ट है, चाहे आपका रफ ड्राफ्ट है, it should not have any spelling, it should not have any pronunciation mistakes, it should not have any punctuation mistakes. That is something which is a big no-no from me. It turns off everything. आपने जो भी उसके अंदर चाहे हार्वर्ड का एक्सपीरियंस लिखा हो, अगर आपने उसको अच्छे तरीके से नहीं लिखा, it turns off everything. So this is what my go-to message is, that one, the CV should explain yourself. It should be आपका वर्जन है, जो आप हैं वही आपका बता रही है. और सेकंड ये है कि there should be no spelling mistakes, and that's all I think from my side on CV. Thank you,
Great,
Khurram.
thanks. And so, closing remarks. Gulrez, anything that you'd like to finish up with?
नहीं, I totally agree भाई. Mistake की कोई margin नहीं है. That is one of the most commonest thing that we end up seeing, and literally as soon as you see one or two mistakes, you pretty much give up on that CV. You don't go anything beyond that. So please
Great.
be very careful with what you do.
Great. Okay, Khurram, closing remarks.
Yeah,
Any last tips?
Yeah, so from my side, the closing remarks will be same as Dr. Aslan said. So it should be concise, precise, accurate, and should truly reflect what you are as a person. Do not put any fillers. Do not put anything that do not truly represent you. Because those people who are sitting on the other side of the screen, they are very smart. They're doing it for the last 20, 30 years, and maybe more than that. They will immediately know the person in the CV is different than the person on the screen. So it will immediately turn them off, and then you will be in a defensive position rather than trying to represent yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. Pumbal, anything that you'd like to conclude with?
Don't lie in the CV if you cannot prove it, and check for grammar, capitalization. That's it.
Okay. Thank you. Sadiq bhai.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for organizing this session and for very wonderful questions. I'm not gonna say about ERAS CV. I'm gonna talk about match process. It's a roller coaster. There's gonna be a lot of emotions, days of happiness, days of crying, days of hope, there are days of anger. Being angry at yourself, your colleagues. Why did I, opt for USMLE? But Pumbal is probably the youngest one of all of us, and if you ask her, she's gonna tell you it was worth it. So work hard, use APPNA YPC as a support system. Reach out to us. We can help you, but the work that needs to be done is to be done by you. There's also, I will stop with this. If you go to YouTube and you Google, you in the YouTube, you search for ERAS CV. We have done previous sessions where we went through line by line on ERAS CV. Yeah, so please do that. I will also request Gulrez to share that timeline for the match application and when to work on what. So to start working on your personal statement now, your CV program application, so you're not doing all of this in September. Thank you, Dr. Khurram. Thank you, everyone.
Great. Thank you again. So just the last, I truly appreciate everyone taking the time. We went way beyond our scheduled time of 1 hour, and we always go beyond that 1 hour. It's never been 1 hour. So, but I truly appreciate you guys taking the time and all the attendees for attending it, guys. So bottom line is, again, be honest, be yourself, seek the guidance. It doesn't hurt to reach out, but always please be very respectful when reaching out. Again, somebody replying to you, it is just a good gesture. They're trying to help you. If they don't reply, this is not your right. This is like, and this service, I mean, we can only keep going it if you guys come forward and help, your colleagues. I give this example in every webinar. I'm going to do it again that just last year 700 something Pakistanis matched, not even 70, not even 10% signed up to become the mentors and help others. This year we have more than 1,000. We're going to share those forms again that you guys have been through the process, and please sign up to become YPC mentor. And I can guarantee you that it's not going to be 20% of them who will sign up. So paying it forward, and then similarly, people tell me all the time when we get to your level, we will also do the same and help. There's no level to help. You can help where you are today. Just few examples. There are more than 1,000 folks on our YP on our advocacy group who have matched, and just this somebody is asking the same thing which has been answered 2 million times already. Nobody I see that will copy paste the reply that Dr. Sadiq has sent, Arslan has said, Gulrez has sent, and they will just do not go back. So somebody just asking about the recording of this session. You guys have the recording, for example. You can post it. I mean, this is the community work. Everyone comes together. We can hope we can build a more stronger and robust community. Everyone needs to pitch in, and you can help just at this level where you are. The things and the resources that we are trying to provide you through RPC, trust me, it does not happen anywhere else. No other country, no other organization is doing the sorts of things that we are trying to do. But in order for us to continue, people need to come forward, more people need to sign up. We this year we'll try to, the mentorship program that we offer through YPC. I think last year we were able to connect about 800 applicants. This year we are hoping that our plan is to connect 1,200 of you guys who are going to applying. But for this, we will need mentors. So share it with your friends, colleagues to sign up for these mentorship programs that we can help you guys. The observership program, again, we are trying to help as many as we can, but obviously we have limitations. And you guys have rotated, so there's going to be thousands and thousands of those, and there's only about maybe 10-15% of those who get observership through YPC. The remainder 70, 80, 90% get on their own. Why don't you share those resources with your friends? I mean, the things that are destined for you, nobody can take it away from you, right? So if you share those resources with the community, that's gonna help everyone. So please do that. This session will be recorded. We'll post it on YPC. Again, you can ask any questions that you might have. but we will not accept anonymous posts on the YPC groups. So, but the last advice is please be respectful of everyone's time, and you send the questions, you wait. If you don't get answered, that's okay. Move on. You can ask. Also, do not send the same copy paste message to me, to Urslan, to Sadik, to Gulrez every single time. Like every single day, you'll just send. You send it to one of the YPC member. You send it to Gulrez. Just please wait at least for a day, couple of days, and have them get back to you. And then maybe you reach out to me, to another one or someone. Just like reaching out to 4 or 5 members at the same time. We do talk among ourselves. We do share in our group. Like this is what we. So we know, so just please be respectful. You guys eventually are on your own. We are there to support you. You've come this far. You're gonna go through. Just trust yourself. Trust the process. We are happy to help you throughout. So thank you very much once again. All the very best. And our next webinar probably is going to be next week on the personal statement. So, but we'll share the details on the YPC page soon. Good luck, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Allah Hafiz.